Welcome to the Insurance Producers Podcast, where we bring you the top personalized producers, insurance agents, and industry partners, giving you at least 3 takeaways to 10x your production and build your multi-million-dollar revenue books. So sit back, relax, and become inspired by the success stories and strategies of the world's top insurance minds. Let's roll.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Cyrus Jaffery. We are back with the Insurance Producers Podcast. Hey, I've got a special guest today. I'm excited to share with you guys that he has become a friend of ours for the last only couple of weeks. We've only got to know each other for the last couple of weeks, man, but I loved his story and what he's doing in the neighboring state of ours, Minnesota, man. So I'm excited. Everybody, Matt Larsen, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So Matt's got an agency. He is a producer. He's doing all the things that everybody wants to hear about, man. So today we're gonna dig deep on his operations and what are some things that he is doing, and hopefully we can give you guys some action items on some things that you can take inside of your agency and implement and be a high impact producer. So Matt, man, if you don't mind, just really quick background, how long you've been in the industry, how you got into it, man. If you could, that'd be great.
Yeah. Long story short, I've had my insurance license for 10 years now, but I've been active in the insurance industry for 4. So I got into it, got recruited by a captive company, and I started out banging the phones in a cubicle, trying to get some leads and get some business. And it was very short lived. I got burnt out, and I got burnt out because uh, there was no mentorship, there was no structure. I mean, there's just no paved way for me to be successful. They just basically gave me, at that time, I think we still had the phone book, the yellow pages, and they said, hey, call these people and smile and dial, and but how do I be successful? What is your process? How do I talk through this conversation? Like, I'm fine cold calling, but give me that structure that I need. So it was I got burnt out, and then I stopped. I left there, stayed with my full-time job, and then I went to another captive company, and kind of the same thing. I got burnt out. There's no structure. They just I felt like they needed to hit some quota for number of heads in the office, and so then I left, and then I got back into the industry 4 years ago, pretty serious. I had a full-time job as in retail management, and talk about burnout. Working 60, 70 hours a week, and it's a very demanding job. And I was like, I need something different. I had this insurance license in my back pocket that I was, doing CE on and paying for the renewals and not doing anything with it. And I was like, hey man, let's put this to use. Let's dive back into it and make something of it. And here we are 4 years later, and it's definitely a fun road the last 4 years, and just kind of learning the ropes of the business. Went from an agent for a little bit of time to an agency owner. So that was quite the journey. But going into it, before I started, I was really doing my homework. And what I mean by that is, about 8 months before I opened my agency, I was interviewing agency owners and producers and anybody in the agency or in the industry to really understand what is it that's holding you back from being successful, and then what is working, and what, if you were to start over today, what would you do different? And I was able to do my homework on that and just kind of figure out how am I going to navigate this road and be successful. And I think that's what really helped me get to where I am today. So
That's awesome. A little bit about your agency. So I know you guys are in Minnesota, more personalized, commercial, the structure there, and then staff stuff would be great, man.
yeah. So located here in Coon Rapids, Minnesota. We have a staff of 5 of us right now, and we have one VA as well. And we mainly focus on personal lines. I'd say we're about 90-10, so 90% personal lines, 10% commercial lines. And yeah, we're steadily growing.
That's cool. So yeah, man. So obviously, personal lines world crazy right now, right? So Minnesota is not when you talk about the carriers say, okay, this is a green state, this is a yellow state or orange state, and then this is a red state. For a lot of carriers, man, you guys are red state, but I know you guys are growing. You guys are rocking and rolling with a lot of good stuff happening on the personal line side, man. And obviously we're personal lines kind of like you, 90/10, pretty close to it. So how are you able to, man, in this market, especially in a state like Minnesota that's been really beat up? How have you been? What are some successes you're having? Like how are you having success in today's environment on the
Yeah, man,
personal line side?
it's definitely not easy in our market right now. And every day I feel like we're getting punched in the gut, but you got to have that mentality just to overcome it and know that, that there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. But if you give up, I mean, you worked for nothing, right? So
Hmm.
I would say our biggest success right now is relationships. We're in a relationship business. We're not in a transaction business. So building a relationship with your current clients is extremely important. We're getting a large amount of referrals from our current client base because we are building those relationships. We're taking the time to educate them and make them understand their insurance coverages and help them understand, what they're covered for and covered against. It's not, hey, do you want your auto policy? Do you want us to bundle your home with it as well? No, it's let's find those gaps. What's in your current coverage that you need moving forward. So building those relationships and staying in front of them. And then outside of that is building relationships with spheres of influences and getting outside of your four walls. And rubbing elbows and shaking hands with people is extremely important. That really helped propel me in the early stages and still does today. I have strong relationships with individuals. Um, I built in the beginning, I built a BNI group. And if anybody knows BNI, they know it can be very successful depending on your region
Mm-hmm.
and who's in your group. But to build that, it was like a full-time job on top of what
Mm-hmm.
I was already doing. But I built so many relationships with so many professionals, and it really propelled my agency and propelled me to where I am today. And I didn't stop there. Networking was big for me after that. I built a few other groups outside of that, outside of BNI, that we meet on a bi-weekly basis. So there in total about four groups plus in the chapter as well, or the chamber as well. And I help my agents and I grew about three or four other groups as well. So we are just out of our four walls. We are just door knocking, hitting the pavement. I mean, we're just trying to, you know, meet everybody in our community. We're trying to be the insurance guys in our community. So,
Yeah. Matt, how big is your community?
oh,
Pretty
it's
big.
just right out. Yeah, we're right outside Minneapolis, St. Paul. So it's pretty big.
Oh, large,
Yeah.
very large.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so you've got one of the relationships, the BNIs, the sphere of influence. So
Hmm.
what I'm hearing, man, like you're getting a ton more at bats at this point, and these are
Hmm.
good at bats, right? Like the best thing about this environment is that whether you're with State Farm, American Family, Farmers, Farm Bureau, like your rate is going up. Like by no means like a carrier is
Oh yeah.
sitting there like selling $800 homeowners policies, right? Like, that's not happening. So when I tell people all the time, people are like, man, like, oh, I hate personal lines. It's going through this. I'm going to go completely commercial. I'm like, dude, this is a great opportunity to be in personal lines because everybody is bonkers. Everybody's looking for that trusted advisor that can give them options and basically educate them on the environment that's been happening right now. And
Right.
captives, they don't know, dude. My father-in-law is a State Farm agent. He's like, what are you talking about? What hard market? Like some of these captives literally don't know, because they don't tell them. State Farm at the top, like they just don't even know they're in a hard market right now, which blows my mind because they're not listening to some of the things that obviously the independents are, because we're losing our mind. I feel like most of the times.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, what's your take on that, man? What's your take on the personal lines versus commercial and the hard market and where the men differentiate themselves from the boys is what I'm seeing. So
Right. 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 Yeah. I think it's I think you just can't give up, and you've gotta what's helped us is automation and automating a lot of our processes, because you're gonna get, like you said, we have a ton of at bats. Do we win everything? Absolutely not. If we had a
yeah.
100% closing ratio, that'd be fantastic, but it's not a reality, right? So having process and procedures in place with automation is extremely
Mhm.
important. We're getting those leads that we had at bats and at shots at 6, 12 months ago, they're coming through our pipeline now and they're like, hey, let's move forward. Let's do this. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do this. And we just had 3 this morning in our team meeting, like just can't
Oh,
come through. I was like, oh, this is awesome. All we got to do
mm-hmm.
is, get the paperwork signed and ready to rock and roll. So I think you really just gotta,
Wow.
you got to be process and procedures in place, and just understand you're not going to win everything. But those at bats now are going to be at bats down the road, and continue to fight. I mean, and the biggest thing right now is education. Like I said, you can't treat this market as a transaction. You're never going to win. You're never going
Mm-hmm.
to win. If you sell on price, you're going to die on price at the end of the day. And you really got to know their motivation for leaving the current carrier. Outside of price, what has you shopping for your insurance, right? You got to understand why they're shopping. You got to understand outside of the price, what is it going to take for them to move over? Because when you present that sale at the end, if you're only going to go on price, you're going to lose it. I mean, that's the only thing that they care about. But you got to dig deeper. Was it a bad claim? Do they not have a relationship with their agent? Do they not follow up with them? Do they not have they not heard from their agent in 2 to 3 years? Like, you got to be different, man. You got to be in the blue ocean. So.
That's cool. No, what's your favorite automation, man, inside of your agency that you think would producers would love? I know you mentioned one already, so.
Yeah, yeah, we use Agency Zoom. That's fantastic. That's really good that we use as far as getting in touch with our past clients. But man, we really dove into Chat GTP and I really going gung ho on that. Trying to create our own little bot and our own underwriter and that sort of thing. So we can quickly go and look something up with a few words in our team's message, and it lets us know if it's a risk that can be written with a certain carrier. So we got a lot of good things going on with that. A lot of
Mm.
testing right now, and so um, I would say those two are our heavy hitters right now that we utilize a lot. The other one is, you said a podcast on it yesterday, or a couple days ago. Uh, Canopy
Yeah.
is fantastic. It's
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about education and educating the
Mm-hmm.
client and finding those gaps, um, that's a perfect thing. Getting their deck pages. Don't quote unless you have unless you get the deck
Mm-hmm.
pages, right? Because you don't know what you're going into. You're going into a dark hole. You have those deck pages, you can win that business even faster. Um, and outside of that, those are the
Top
top three
three.
big hitters that we use. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Man, Toga, I know he was on the podcast, man. He's such a good dude, man. He's running such a great company, just trying to figure out ways to make our life so much easier. So if you're not using Canopy Connect, man, as an agency, I think your conversion ratio, ours at least, is at least 15 to 18% higher every time we use Canopy Connect. So for the amount of
100%.
money that you got to pay, it's a no brainer. So
Yeah.
um, so okay, so let's go back to your the way you get your business right now. So would you say that your biggest lead source is potentially the BNI, the spheres, the current clients, or are you getting a bunch of your leads from cold calling, or are you getting buying leads or mortgage lenders, real estate agents? What would you say is your biggest?
No, no. I told myself when I opened this business, I created a business plan, and in that I didn't have anything to do with cold calling or buying lists. I wanted to stay away from that, and so I built it from the ground up with relationships, and relationships are definitely where majority of our leads come from. I'll do some social media stuff here and there, but
Mm-hmm.
majority of the stuff comes from our referral partners and our clients. We're waking up and we already have leads in our inbox, or introduction text messages to a client's sister or brother or something like that. um, so majority of our business is coming from there. You have such a higher closing ratio on a lead that's being sent to you from somebody you have a relationship with, and somebody that you're cold calling,
Mm-hmm.
um, or buying from a list, because the people that are on the list today are going to be on somebody else's list tomorrow, or in 12 months. My rate went up by $200. I'm mad. I want a shot.
Mm-hmm.
So you put all that effort into, you know, it's low intent, and some agencies thrive on that, which is great, but it's just not for me, not for our agency.
Yeah. 100%. Would you say that what you're dealing with right now on a daily basis is your biggest competition right now in Minnesota? I know State Farm's pretty big there and some of the
Mhm.
captives, but are you seeing running into a lot more independents, or are you still running into a ton of your captive channels and direct progressive and Geicos?
Yeah, it's definitely direct and captives right now. Yeah, yeah, we're fighting we're fighting them tooth and nail, and our closing ratio is pretty good against them, but we lose some clients to the direct writers and the the progressive emails. This one the other day, progressive sent them an email, hey, get a quote here, and they did it, and cut their rates in half, and we couldn't do anything. But it is what it is. You win some, you lose some. Put them in the pipeline. They'll call back. They'll come back to you.
Yeah, well, that's if you have got a really good automation set up on the back end to win backs. I was telling our team today, I said, guys, like we literally lost hundreds of clients every month for the last like 4 or 5 years that we've been in business. I said, if we did a better job 4 or 5 years ago with all the people that we lost at that time, think about it, man. On a monthly basis, every month we would get 300 to 400 direct emails going out to people we lost, and I can guarantee you those 490% of the rates have gone up. And I
Mhm.
can almost guarantee you a ton of those are going to reach back out to you if you build some kind of a relationship with them
Yep.
back then. And they're going to come back to you and you're going to be so, man, that's going to happen quite a bit. I mean, because I know, so
Mhm.
last couple of years and then this year, a lot of our independents have taken a lot of rate, of course, right, to correct themselves to get to where the market needs to be.
Yep.
For this year and next year, the captives are going to. I can tell you, man, those guys are going to take some rate to get to where they need to be, and then so we can get the market stabilized. So if you didn't do a good job, man, of building that relationship a little bit when you lost them and put them on a win back, and if you're not doing a good job today of putting some automation behind your win back to get some of these people to come back to you, man, those are just gravy, wouldn't you say? I mean, you're leading with that. This morning you had three of those, so.
Oh yeah. 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 If you're not doing that, you don't have, again, it goes back to systems and processes. And that's what, I learned from a lot of agencies that wasn't working and what they would have changed. The number one thing was I would have changed my process and procedures and
Mhm,
understood how to just better automate and delegate.
mhm.
But yeah, absolutely. You got to have a strong connection to your customers and strong game when it comes to follow up, because the win backs are there. You already have their information. All you got to do is hit a couple buttons, and that sales process is pretty quick.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, man, when you talk to somebody from 2, 3 years ago and you're like, hey, I remember last time we talked, like you got a new dog, right? Like whatever the name was, like they're like, whoa, like you remember that? Like you just have to add one extra note in your management system, even when you lose them or you win them right away up front. Think about what that does as far as like, wow, this guy remembered from 3 years ago about my new dog that I got. You know what I'm saying? So those are little things that should differentiate you today, I would assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We do that in our management system. And somebody getting married, or they just had a baby,
Hmm.
well, and it back to building relationships. If there's a life event, what we do is we send out handwritten cards. If somebody had a
Hmm.
baby, we'll send a handwritten card. Somebody got married, we send a handwritten card. Somebody lost their dog last week, we sent a sympathy card. It goes a long way, and we get shout outs on Facebook from our clients, like the dog that passed away. They said
Hmm.
it's the most kindest thing that they could have ever received from an insurance agent.
Hmm.
And now we're being exposed to 800 to 1100 people on their Facebook, like they taking our business page, they're taking us. And, so that little thing can go a long way. And, it strengthens that relationship with that customer. If the rate goes up and they, $1,000 and they could save money going to a captive, they're always going to think back. It's that card. They're always going to think back to that nice gesture that we did. And then, who knows, we may get some leads off those posts from Facebook too. So yeah.
100%. So, Matt, I know you're somewhat in production from what I know about you. You're an agency owner. You got a lot of
Mhm.
hats that you're wearing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
What's that like, man? There's a lot of people listening to this podcast right now, man, that are dealing with the same thing. They're agency owners, they're producers, they're dealing with issues inside of the office that comes to you. Like you wear a lot of hats, man. Like What's that been like, and how have you basically done what you have done in the last 3 to 4 years as being that person wearing two different hats? Because I don't do any production, so I
Mhm.
wouldn't be able to be in you. But you are doing both parts of it, and there's a lot of people that are you right now that are doing production and running the day to day of an organization at the high level that you have been doing.
Yeah.
Like, what is the secret sauce? What are some things that you're doing that have worked to be able to balance those two things?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the first thing is my time, managing my calendar and not letting my calendar manage me. That's the biggest thing, time blocking. If you talk to agency owners and producers, one of the things that they might be struggling on is really time management. So you really got to time block your weeks and your months. I time block things on a regular basis. I try to go out 30 days in advance, and time block that way. I used to have my calendar open to anybody and everybody at any time of the day, and I've since kind of closed that to Tuesdays and Thursdays for a time block of 3 to 4 hours. These are my meetings. These are where I'm gonna do my one-to-ones, and outside of that, it's all business. I'm doing
Mhm.
getting things done in the office and that sort of thing. And then, you know, um, as an agency, we meet. I know you guys meet twice a day. We meet daily for about a half hour in the mornings, and we really get a great connection in the mornings and really understand what's on people's plates.
Mhm.
So if there's a fire that we need to tackle or something that we need to, then I need to be attentive to. I'll, look at my calendar and make sure that I'm there to help with that. But, then it's delegating, it's delegating a lot of some of the tasks off to my team, and getting them, um, set up for success. And and as me as a producer, I do a lot of producing, but I tee up a lot of my team members after the fact. I don't like the applications and the note going
Mhm.
back and getting the notating and following up the client and everything like that.
Mhm.
I'm selling, I'm teeing it up, they're taking care of it. Um, so yeah, automate, delegate, and outsource, for sure. So,
Absolutely. What would you say right now has taken the most of your time?
um, I would say most of my time would probably be handling the fires and the blows that we're getting from some of the carriers, some
Mhm.
underwriting issues that my team's dealing with. I'm there just trying to help them. If it might be new business and we had an underwriting issue, helping them with that. We have process and procedures in place that help eliminate some of that, but sometimes it still
Mhm.
comes through the flow of things. Um, Outside of that, it would probably be just like working in the business. Like I'm always tweaking our automation. I'm a tech geek. Like
Mhm.
I ask my team, I'm always in something where I can try to
Mhm.
make life easier for everybody and be more efficient
Mhm.
in our agency. So um, yeah, that's where most of my time spent. So.
That's awesome, man. What would be one of your recommendations, man? If somebody that's not in the whole BNI, the relationship building, trying to get some referrals from the sphere of influence, what would be your biggest recommendation? Because I know that's how you've built your book.
Mhm.
What would be your biggest recommendation that you potentially could give us, that somebody that has not done that can go take advantage of that?
Yeah, most of the time it's just getting out of your comfort zone, right? A lot of people, it's hard for them to go knock on an office door and go meet somebody or go cold call somebody. So get uncomfortable to get comfortable. Pick up the phone. Go. I mean, I'm in an office. If you're in an office, I'm in an office here, and we have 25 different offices in our building. Like I tell my producer, like, hey, go knock on some doors. If you
Mhm.
don't need the phone to ring, you need some leads. There's 25 offices in here with 5 to 10 employees in each office. Times that by how many offices are in here. There's a lot of people to talk to. Get
Mhm.
out there and meet some people, rub some elbows, um, and yeah, and then continue to nurture those relationships too, especially with if you are going to build a referral relationship with somebody, nurture those relationships. I think that's really really important, really key. It's not just a one-time hi bye. It's hey, you've followed up in 10 days, a quick phone call. You want to go to lunch, you want to do coffee or something, learn more about them. You gotta nurture it and um, don't have the don't have the giver's mentality or don't have the taker's mentality. What I mean by that is don't go into an office and assume you have to get a lead. Don't assume that you have to get something from them right away. Be a giver, like if learn more about their business, understand their situation, understand how you can help them. Is there a referral that you can give to them? Is there if it's a lender, is there a CPA or a realtor that you can introduce them to? Because once you start becoming a connector, everything falls in place. Everything falls in
Hmm.
place. You just can't have that mentality that you got to get something on the first meeting. So
Cool. I love that, man. What would you do different today? I know some of you came you called a lot of people. If an agency owner is new or potentially trying to get into it, they're a producer, they're gonna go become an agency owner or leaving their old agency. What would you say you would do differently if you went back and started this 3, 4 years ago? What would you do differently today than you did last time?
back to process and procedures, 100%. Really take. I mean, we don't get me wrong. We that was one of our biggest focuses, but I was just the pedal to the metal. It was growth. Like let's go. Opening these doors
Mhm.
was really exciting. So really taking a step back and understanding those process and procedures is really really key to your success as an agency. Just don't fly by the seat of your pants. That's advice that I'd give to anybody that's looking to step outside of their walls and maybe open their own agency. Really understand on what it takes and having a strong process and procedures in place to everyone to follow in your agency as you grow is extremely, extremely important because, I found myself and, a lot of agency owners find themselves teaching the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again, times 10 minutes of showing somebody times, 20 times, right? If you
Mhm.
had a process procedure or video or something in place where they could just go and review that and you do what you do best, whether that be working in the business or growing the business, you have more time to do that. So,
Absolutely. And what about an agency owner, man,
and
that's been around for 3, 4 years, producer, been around for 3, 4 years, having a lot of success? What's the next step? What would you recommend to those agency owners? Like, how did they take the next level, going from the gear to where, okay, they're producing, they're doing really well, hard market's hitting. Like, what is your step first of all? Like, what are you looking forward to accomplishing for the next year? And what do you recommend for some of these people that are kind of in the same path, 3 to 4 years in? They're trying to take the next level. Maybe they want to double their revenue in the next 3 years, 2 years. What's your next move, and what would you recommend to some other agency owners or producers?
yeah, our next move is to, yeah, obviously continue to grow, but maybe my move is to move more so kind of in your position, right? And work more, on the business, and just kind of be that quarterback, I
Hmm.
guess, be more of a quarterback for my agency. Because right now I'm all over the field. I'm playing offense, I'm playing defense, I'm all over the
Hmm.
place. But I had to do that for us to get to the point we're at right now. So
Absolutely.
that's my next step. But for advice for anybody else, I think it's just like set a goal, set goals,
Mm.
set monthly goals, quarterly goals, and annual goals, and check those goals, whether you have an accountability person that you can reach out to, or you're looking it over with your spouse. Be committed to yourself and be committed to those goals. I think is the biggest thing. You really got to understand where you want to go, but then also how do you get there, right?
Mm.
How do you get there? I want to grow to five. I want to grow to $10 million. Well, how do you get there,
Hmm.
right? You got to have the steps in place to really understand that. And so, my key, what's really helped me is having an accountability person. We meet once a week and really just deep dive into our businesses and our goals, and that person is there to hold me accountable every single week. I don't want to go to that meeting
Hmm.
and not have any type of ammunition in that meeting and make myself look like a fool, right? We're there to talk about our success and what worked and that sort of thing. So um,
Cool.
and yeah, and then maybe if you are going to that next goal and um, reach out to other agency owners that are at that point where you want to be
Hmm.
and talk to them. I think that's getting some thought from them is really important too. And and a mentor maybe too. I mean, I'm 5 years in and I'm looking for another mentor, right? It doesn't, I'm mentoring some other people, but I also want to be mentored myself as well by
Absolutely.
somebody else. I think that's
Yep.
extremely crucial, um,
Mhm.
to take yourself to the next step. So,
And that mentor that's mentoring you, they got a mentor. And that mentor, I
mhm.
mean, that's the only way for you to be able to evolve and become better because there's somebody, no matter where you are in life, man, business, personal, somebody's always better than you in something. And they need to get to the next level as well. It's just basically this thing that is pretty hard to reach. Matthew McConaughey once said, man, I'm chasing myself 5 years from now, 10 years from now. I'm always going to be chasing because when I'm older, 5, 10 years from now, I'm going to be chasing the next Matthew McConaughey from 5, 10 years ago. Because you're always chasing the greatness, man, which you're never gonna. Not a lot of people are gonna accomplish it, I guess. So that's really cool, man. That's a great advice. I've got. If you don't have anything else to share, man, I've got one last question for you, brother. We're 30 minutes in. We like to keep this around that mark. Do you have anything else that you would like to share to the producers or agency owners?
um, I don't know. I say sky's the limit, right? The sky's the limit. Don't let anything hold you back from where you want to be and and accomplishing those goals. I had so many roadblocks in my way of becoming an agency owner, but I fought through it. And I got to give a shout out to my wife. I mean, my wife is the biggest cheerleader that I have, and I don't think I'd be here right now on this podcast if it wasn't for her, and her having an understanding of where I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. So don't let anything hold you back. That's Keep
That's
pushing.
great, man. I love that, man. So, last question, dude. This podcast used to be called Win the Day Podcast, and the win the day mentality, man. Every day I kind of put my head on the pillow at the end of the day, man. It's one of those things where a personal and a business thing that potentially I accomplished that day, and it makes me kind of go to sleep like a baby when I accomplish those things. Is there one or two things on the personal side or professional side that you must do on a daily basis to consider your day one?
Yeah, I say one is leave no regrets, um, and make sure that you fulfill your day in a way that you want to do it. And if not, what are you going to do the next day to do that?
Mm,
The next is from a family side of things. My family's a big thing to me. My kids are a big thing to me, and time is very precious, as I've learned from you.
mhm,
Spending time with my family and leaving work at a decent time so I can sit at a dinner table with my family
mhm.
every night
Yeah.
is extremely important to me. Um,
Mhm.
those are
Yeah.
fulfilling.
That's cool, man. So today is February 29th, dude. Guess what? I think this comes once every either 4 or 7 years.
4 years. I think it's
Every
4,
four
yeah.
years, right?
Yeah.
It's 4 years. So once every 4 years, a February 29th comes around, and somebody told me that this morning is, hey, this is an extra day you're going to get, man. So you're not going to get this for another 4 years. So he said, maybe you could leave a little bit early to go spend some time with the kids today. And I said, all right, man, I'm going to do a podcast at 2:30 and I'm going to go home at 3 o'clock and on a day that's a bonus day. So I'm going to spend some bonus time, man, with the people that matter. So that's what I'm doing right after this podcast. So appreciate you sharing that family thing, man, which is important for a lot of people. Matt, man, I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for being on. Would love to have you back on again, man. And I hope you accomplish all the goals that you set for yourself, man, and go make some stuff happen. Okay.
It's awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me,
All right.
Cyrus.
All right. Thanks, buddy.